My name is Paul Luna, and you're tuned into F&B Lunacy. I am here today with restaurateur Mike Goguen.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you, Mike. Can you tell us about Fork and Bottle or any of the restaurants that you own currently?
So I own Fork and Bottle and Urban Fork. Fork and Bottle is located in Brunau, right in the edge of the city, right on the Almend in Zurich. And Urban Fork is located about a block and a half off of Limmatplatz in Zurich. And we started Fork and Bottle roughly 9 years ago, almost, I think 9 years ago on February 21st, so almost to the date. So next year will be our 10-year anniversary, and Urban Fork is about 2 years old. Essentially, Fork and Bottle takes two of my influences, and that's living in London as a London gastropub, and then living in San Francisco, who are more that California cuisine. Our concept is really a farm-to-table comfort food, and we're known for our extensive craft beer list. And we also specialize in brunch, and we're very well known for being family friendly. We also have a huge beer garden that can seat about 300 people. In the summertime is our nice weather. And now in COVID, people will sit outside in almost any weather at the moment. So it's been a little bit of a nice asset to have that during this time. But yeah, that's essentially, and then Urban Fork is I would say more of a city gastropub, about a 45-seater, but very cool place to come for cool drinks, cocktails, wine, food. But it's a little bit different menu. It's a little bit more upscale city gastropub, where the Fork and Bottle is more of a rustic comfort food gastropub. But all pretty elevated food, and everything comes from, it's very important that we source everything from our local farmers and markets, butchers, fishmongers. So we really do a lot for the sustainability of the restaurants, and it's very important how we source and have great relationships with different farmers.
What brought you to Switzerland?
Moved to Switzerland 12, 13 years ago. We were living in London, and my wife got a great opportunity to come over here for a startup in Zug. So she was working 100-hour weeks. I got bored, and I just left my corporate job in London to do a culinary degree. And I just started doing word-of-mouth catering business out of the house. And then kind of within a year or two, I started getting 3-4 events a week, and I really needed to stop doing it out of the house and find a proper space. But yeah, and essentially, now we've been here for 12 or 13 years, and it's kind of become home.
What are the differences in running a business between the US and Switzerland?
Cost is probably the biggest. I would say that it's really challenging in Switzerland, the cost structure in Switzerland, and also the labor costs are much higher in Switzerland, and you really have to be careful to manage your staffing and make sure that, in the US, for example, if you have, I know things are changing all the time in the US, but, if you have a server that's on quite low wage and they're really depending on tips, you can always kind of keep them around because it's not a huge cost to you. But in Switzerland, you're paying quite a high wage to your employees. So you really have to be busy all the time, or, they almost have to be cut or something to that fact if it's quiet. So it's really challenging too, because you want to make sure that you have the right staffing to make sure you're giving a very good customer experience throughout the restaurant, but also trying to make sure that you can stay in business and make a profit. So your labor costs are a lot higher than in the US. So are the food costs. And sometimes I find a lot of times it doesn't always translate to because there's only a certain amount you can charge, and you can't, go too high. So it doesn't always correlate to the same percentages. So that's one of the kind of biggest challenges. But for example, here 9-10 years ago, I was able to really open up a place that was very different, new, and no one had done this style of restaurant before in Zurich. So it really, I wouldn't say lack of competition, but there wasn't a lot of other people doing similar type concepts. So on that side, which is very different from the US, where everybody is doing all kinds of creative, innovative things all the time, it's really hard on a competitive side, where here it's still competitive, but you really have a nice opportunity to find a nice niche in the market and really go with it. And people in Switzerland, I find, are very interested in finding something new and different, and are always up for trying that. So that's been really cool.
Talk to us about your beer selection, local specialty.
Yeah. So we started doing a craft beer concept about 9 years ago, and we were the first ones in Zurich to do anything craft beer oriented. And we went out and started sourcing craft beer from local breweries all around Switzerland. And mainly to this day, we pretty much only do craft beer from Europe. So we try to stay really within the continent, mainly in Switzerland. For example, Switzerland, we try to work with, Beer Factory, which is in Rapperswil. We work with BFM, which is in the eastern part of Switzerland. We've done with quite a, and there's White Frontier, which is in the other part of the French-speaking part of Switzerland also. So we try to work with a lot of local ones, but then we also work within Europe to find a lot of interesting brewers, mainly Italy, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany. We've started to find some really interesting craft brewers, in UK. And the great thing about that is, especially right now, obviously you're probably aware that the big boom in craft beer over the last, say, 10 years is IPAs. And one of the components of an IPA is the hop profile. So you want to always have fresh beer. So as soon as we really talk to the brewers and watch their brew dates, so we can make sure as soon as they either keg it or can it, we can get the beer within a few days. So that's why it's also a huge advantage to work with brewers locally, because then you can get the freshest, best beer. And we've had a lot of success with that. And that's one thing that we're really well known for, is being able to bring really high quality, different, interesting beer that nobody has. And the great thing is, over the last 10 years, we've really watched the beer scene in Switzerland grow. And then the nice part also that we have here is we have a beer list. Yeah, probably usually about 60 to 80 beers. And we break it down into different styles. So, you have your lagers, your pilsners, you have your IPAs, your pale ales, but then you have your different stouts, your Belgian style triples, your sour stuff, your cast age stuff. So, we have a brewer out of Croatia that does a peanut butter toffee stout, a hazelnut toffee stout. We have all kinds of crazy different plum sours, cherry sours, and just all kinds of different really funky beers. And then kind of adding on to that, one of my passion projects is, from time to time, I bring a brewer in, and we will do like a 5-course pairing menu where they'll bring their beers and we'll taste them a week or two beforehand. And we'll really work with the chef to come up with a really creative, menu. And we do stuff. We do some really elevated stuff. We'll marinate the food in beer. We'll use sometimes the beer for a dressing. One time we took where we pair with a pilsner. We took a brick pastry. We made a chicken mousse, rolled it around like a cigar. And then we took truffles from the Uetliberg, which is the hill right next to the restaurant, shaved them and made it like a cigar at the end. And then we put it in a cigar box. And that was how we did one of the appetizers. So just things like that are really fun with beer. And it's also just educating people that beer can be as versatile as wine when it comes to pairing with food, because you really can do anything with beer. And that's the thing, you can throw anything into beer, and that's really a lot of fun. And it's just fun to get brewers to come in as kind of something different and new.
Do you have a private dining room?
We do. So you can do anything from renting the whole restaurant out, which is about 120, 130 table seats, to the upstairs, which is more of the general private area, which is about 60 people can fit. And then the downstairs, again, 60 people. Or you can rent out the full beer garden, which we've done up to 450 people, but that was a lot of standing. But comfortable is about 250 to 300 sitting in the beer garden. So you have just general, but no, we one of the best parts of our business is we do a lot of, because I come from the catering background to start out with, we can do any kind of catering menu. We can do any kind of event. So we've done everything through the years, from weddings to birthday parties, to corporate events, to galas, to everything. So we really can be very flexible as far as what we can do. And we also have a food truck that is it's mobile, that we can go anywhere with. It's an old 1981 German fire truck. it's fully equipped, so we can go anywhere to do events and parties too. And then we have a small barn space next to the restaurant. It's can fit about 50 people for more of a rustic style event too. So we have a lot of options for events, and we appreciate the community and the support that we have in both restaurants. And we're working really hard to come up with new concepts, new ideas. We really believe a lot in the way we source our food, and we take a lot of pride and care into it, and the service is really important. So I think for us, we're really looking forward to getting back to work and being able to open again and really kind of hit the ground running. Everything from our normal weekly menu to the brunches that we're pretty well known for on the weekends. And I think for me, that's a lot of what we're how do you say it? What we're trying to get across. And and we're just, everybody's, I think the whole gastronomy industry right now is everybody's ready to get back to work. And I think people really want to get out. Everybody I talk to is dying to go back out again to restaurants, and hopefully this passes. But also the one thing everybody understand is we take the current health situation very serious. So obviously we do everything from a health code standpoint, and we probably do more than we're supposed to make sure that every guest will feel safe.
What is it like to own and operate a restaurant in Switzerland?
It's a lot of hard work. It's for me, it's been it's probably, I always tell people, I've done a lot of crazy corporate jobs and other jobs, and I said it's definitely the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. The last 9 years, it's been a lot of fun to build a community, because I think a lot of people will say, if you ask them about our place, it is a real community. We have a really great, I would say we're 50% expat, 50% Swiss, but we definitely have a very strong Swiss community. I kind of say that, anywhere from, I'd say our demographic is somewhere kind of mid-20s to maybe mid-40s, 50-year-old is kind of, you do a lot of families, but then a lot of young singles. But then we also have obviously a very international crowd that loves to come here, and it just becomes a really fun community of people come in big groups, or they know people in the garden and things like that. So that's been a lot of fun building that community, and all this amazing connections and people that we've met through this, and just the networks we've established, and just enjoying the loyal following. But to be honest, it's extremely hard. It's meant a lot of personal and family sacrifices over the years. Essentially, as I said in the earlier part, because the cost structure is so high, a lot of times in the early days, for the first, I would say 5 years, I had to do so much of the extra work here or there, because you always had to watch the cost of things, and so that makes it challenging. But all in all, I think it's been really fun to build a business in a foreign country that's not your home country. Now it feels home more than probably the US to me now. But it's been a fun challenge to be able to build a big successful restaurant in a country like this. But it is a very challenging, hardworking industry globally. But I would definitely say Switzerland is one of the more challenging places due to some of the factors I discussed.
Which brings me to an odd question that I enjoy asking here. And that is, because of the restaurant industry, as you know how difficult it is.
Yeah.
Mike, would you consider yourself a lunatic?
We should ask my team that, but I think in ways, definitely. Yeah, I'm definitely not, how do you say it? I definitely have my eccentricities. I definitely, I definitely do things to be diplomatic. I definitely do things differently, but I think that's a big part of our success. We really go out and go after it. I really empower my team to give great service, but be themselves, and really have a great time with the guest. And that's a big part of what we do. We really make the guests feel comfortable. We joke around with them. We try to build the relationships, and just in general. But I even in the restaurant, I try to be, how you say, very colorful, and but I expect a lot from the team. So I'm sure they'll say that about me, but because I want to have a high quality place. But I definitely there's definitely some colorful personalities.